Hi, my name is Max.
And I'm Maria.
We are missionaries at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and we're going to be speaking about the ministry of presence, how we can be present to the student athletes that we serve. The example that we're going to be speaking about is how we were present at the training table, which is the cafeteria that the student athletes would eat their food.
Yeah, so initially Max and I agreed to go together once a week. And then a comment was made by one of my disciples who talked to another student athlete who asked where we were and what we did because she never saw us around. And so because of that, we decided to start going like 3 times a week.
And sometimes even more than 3 times a week. And it became an amazing opportunity because every student athlete from every sport would eat their food there. We got to be really intentional about sitting with different teams or sitting with different individuals that we wanted to invest in. Or sometimes if we had an event later in the evening, we would just position ourselves by the door so that whenever people were coming or leaving, we were able to make face-to-face invitations with them. So we want to talk about how this consistent presence was able to impact our ministry. So we're going to share a few stories with you.
Yeah, so one example is, Varsity Catholic at Nebraska hasn't had too strong a relationship with the women's soccer players. But this year, this spring semester, because we were going there so often, we actually got to know a lot of them. And it got to a point where I was hanging out with a girl one day and we were just kicking around. She brought me into the locker room and we talked about basically scheming about how to reach her teammates because she has conviction for the mission, but she's not even Catholic.
And so that was an example of just us seeing the soccer team and sitting specifically with them, but we also had times where we'd sit with certain individuals. So say there was a guy on the track team one time. When we first met him at training table, he said, "Why are you guys even here?" And it was awkward at first, but throughout our consistent presence there, we were a familiar face and through a lot of friendly conversation. We eventually ran into him off campus one time and he said, "Hey, you want a tour of the church sometime?" And he says, "Yeah, sure, I'll go right now." So we brought him and gave him a quick tour of the Newman Center. And since then, there have been 3 or 4 different occasions that he had walked in on his own to go and attend Eucharistic adoration and pray there, simply because he felt more comfortable to accept an invitation to the church. He still hasn't been to a Bible study yet, but he's going consistently to pray at a church now. And that wouldn't have happened if we hadn't been specifically trying to sit by him on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and our presence at training table also helps in making invitations for events that we have going on at the Newman Center. So a couple times this year we had rectory nights. We just eat food and hang out in the rectory. And we invited some girls from the soccer team. And this girl showed up who wasn't even Catholic, not even really Christian. She didn't really identify with anything. And she brought a teammate who wasn't Catholic, identifies as Christian, but didn't really practice. So that's an example of how the invitations while we were there were effective.
Yeah, and at that same rectory night, there was another student athlete who had never even been in a Catholic church before, since he'd been in college. And even though he wasn't Catholic, because of our face-to-face invitations on a regular basis, he accepted, and he actually went to the rectory night as well.
And then there was another occasion where Max and I were sitting with 2 volleyball players, one of whom was my disciple, and another of whom we didn't know at all.
She wasn't really having it. She didn't want to talk with us very much.
Yeah, no. But we didn't even talk about anything about what we did or who we were. We were just talking about whatever. Nothing explicitly Christian
Nothing too
or anything.
Deep, yeah.
But later she made a comment to my disciple asking if we were Christian.
Yeah, simply because of the friendly conversation that we had. And that really opened up the door for spiritual multiplication because even though we weren't the ones having the intentional conversation, our presence there opened up the conversation for the students in discipleship to talk with those other students that we were meeting. And this was really an awesome opportunity for us to even incorporate our chaplain into the mission. We would bring our priest with us on several occasions, and there were several guys on the gymnastics team that were not Catholic and had not been to a Bible study that would not have ever talked to a priest unless they sat down right in front of them. And it was a really healing experience, and a lot of them have actually come to the Catholic Church now to for tours or to pray there or to join Bible study. Some of them have been to my home for dinner with my family. Guys on the gymnastics team, the wrestling team that never would have unless we were physically present there, and were familiar faces trying to invest in them. And so we wanted to just address that there are a lot of fears that do come with this. I've been going to this training table for 2 years now, and I still get a little intimidated every time that I walk in. And because it's day in and day out that you're going on a consistent basis, a lot of times you can feel or start to believe the lie that nothing is really happening, or that it might not be effective. But a lot of the fruits that we've shared were because we went week after week after week, and even over the course of weeks or even months before we saw the fruit that came from it.
Yeah, and it's also an obstacle. Like, it's really hard to see Jesus in that environment where it's so secular, but it's coming back to the truth and realizing and being convicted of the fact that all of the students want Jesus, whether they realize it or not.
And so even if you believe, you should be present to where the student athletes are. And if you believe the lie that they don't want you there, that's a lie. Even the student athletes that we heard, they expect us to be there. They know that we are there to serve them. So even if you're afraid, know that they do want you there because they want Jesus, and these are opportunities for them to meet Jesus.